Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, following a month away, to the Mercedes AMG eRacing competition. You return to us at round 6 of 9, and, well, I am personally very excited about this one because we're heading to my actual home track. It's Brands Hatch, and I'm sure we're going to be in for another fantastic race. My name is James Kirk, and alongside me, as always, is Mr. Robert Wiesemuller. And Rob, Brands Hatch, big occasion for it this year, especially with the DTM, as it returns to the calendar for the first time in 5 years. They're using the full GP layout there, but we're going to stick to our historical roots in this particular championship. And today we're going to be utilising the shortest circuit on the calendar, the Indy variation.
Hello everyone, hello James, and yes, we are on Brands Hatch Indy, the short circuit on the calendar, but also a true classic racing circuit. Here you don't see a lot of tarmac runoff areas. When you go a little bit too wide, you will touch the grass, you will touch the gravel, and your race will most likely be over. So a very big challenge for the drivers here in the Mercedes AMG Motorsport eRacing competition. This, of course, if you haven't watched this before, is a virtual racing competition, an esports competition held on Race Room Racing Experience, where you can join as well. Link is in the description. You can try to qualify for the next race. And yeah, today we've got a 20-minute race coming up.
Of course, preceded by a 10-minute qualifying. All of that to come, of course. I love Brands Hatch personally, not just because it's my personal, local circuit. One of the best things is going down the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. If you're able to get a good seat there, which I did happen to do at the final race at Brands Hatch before the break in 2013, if you sit on that hill at the right position, you get to see the entire track. And I know that probably with most of these camera angles we won't get that, but even though it's the shortest circuit, it's a really beautiful circuit to drive around as well, and you really have to work to make your overtakes happen. Let's have a little look at the driver standings, shall we? Because we do have a very interesting situation going into this event. So if you were here with us last year, but you're for some reason just tuning into the season this time around, slight change up in that it's only the top 5 in league play that qualify for the final at the Hockenheimring, as the final was at the Hockenheimring last season, of course. That 6th spot has now been allocated to a special museum event qualifier, which was won by Tim Heinemann at the Mercedes Museum in Stuttgart. Pretty dominating performance. He's guaranteed his place, and so very unlikely that we're going to see him towards the end of the season, probably until the final now at this point. But he's also had a very interesting time of things, Rob, hasn't he? Because he's been having a little drive in a real-life experience, the prize which he won at the end of last season.
Yes, so Tim Heinemann, of course, won this Mercedes AMG Motorsport eRacing competition in the last year and also in the year before. And he's been probably the most successful driver, therefore, in this competition. And he picked up his prize, and that was the drive in the Mercedes AMG GT3, the real car, not the virtual version, at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia in Spain. And some of you might wonder, they see this on the stream here and think, oh, it's just a game, anyone can do this. And it's true, anyone can play this game. But these guys that are really good here, that race on the live streams, they can race real cars too, because it's very close to a real car. And we've got footage of one hot lap of Tim Heinemann on Circuit Ricardo Tormo.
Now, what I love about that, Rob, is just how on the limit he was. And actually, hearing good things about him potentially going into real life racing as well, it just goes to show you can't underestimate how good these guys are. And Tim Heinemann, I know he's one of the top ones, but he's earned his chance to be there and he's taking it.
Yes, and it will be really interesting to see them transition into real racing. Fingers crossed for Tim Heinemann that he can secure the funding for next year, maybe in the GT Masters, even in the German GT Championship. He can make the transition, and I'm sure there's a lot of other guys here, maybe on the grids and maybe from the spectators, that would like to drive a real racing car from Mercedes-Benz for sure. You can try to join the competition, you can try yourself to qualify for the final and win a driving experience. And of course, anyone also can purchase a driving experience, so if you've got a little bit of money sitting in your bank and you don't know what to do with it, make sure to check out the AMG driving experiences. But let's get back to the championship, and let's get back to the championship standings.
Because interesting situation going into this event, which we were just talking about before the broadcast rolled. So, Kim Revenak, he is having possibly the season of his career. He's always been there or thereabouts, no matter what championship you put him in, no matter what simulator you put him in. He's always there, but never at the absolute sharp end. This year's been very different. Taking his first win in the MERC, he's taken his first pole in the MERC. He's kept up that consistency, which has got him so many points in the past, and it puts him 6 points ahead of second placed and one-time championship leader Julian Kunze. But plot twist, Julian Kunze is not here today, as are, so it seems, a number of our regulars. We have in the top 5, so we've got Maulana, Keithley and Santos. They're all there. Kunze not there, but everyone below that, Heinemann, Dorniden, Buccicelli, Zen Gaffinen, a lot of the regulars are not here. So much so, Rob, that we only have 9 people on the grid today who have scored a point previously in the MERC. So we're guaranteed a brand new point scorer today.
And this is probably the dream scenario for Andre Santos, who we saw was in 5th place in the championship standings, because all his biggest rivals, Dorniden, Tocacelli and Gaffinen, they are not here. So he has to worry now about Jaroslav Fonseca and probably also about Ben Spunky, who's been coming onto form recently. But it's his main opportunity to gain the points that he needs to qualify in the top 5, because we've got only 3 races coming up afterwards. And for the new drivers here on the grid, we have a very international grid. First driver from the Netherlands this year, first driver from Malaysia ever, first driver from Andorra, and the first driver from France on this grid, including a couple of other debutants. So it will be very interesting to see who will be the best performer.
I think we've got to give a shout out as well to Mark Hitzing in particular. For those of you who did not watch the museum special broadcast, you are staring at another podium sitter in the MERC. He actually came 3rd in that event and proving, I guess in many ways, Rob, just how good Tim Heinemann was on that day, because his winning performance was comfortable to give it an understatement. Yet Mark is here. He's put in the work and he's on the quote-unquote like real-time grid. I guess you could say, oh, well, not a lot of people or not as many people would have the opportunity to qualify for that museum qualifier. He was up against everyone this time around, and he still got in.
Yeah, it's great to see him here, continuing from the live event at the museum, continuing into the online season as well. And let's see where he comes out in this race. Certainly the cards are reshuffled, maybe not so much at the front, because Jack Keithley, Santos and Rama Maulana are still in the top 3, so that's pretty much business as usual. Maybe we should just have a quick look at Andika Rama Maulana here, in the bright red car that Kaneishi drove back in the 2003 DTM season, because Andika Rama Maulana picked up another penalty in the last race when he turned around Julian Kunze towards the end of the race. So now he's on his final warning. Another penalty and he will get a race ban. So he's sitting comfortably in the standings, but he really needs to watch out in these close fights.
Yeah, it's he's been the real surprise package of this season for certain. His speed was not predicted by many. Certainly his fans, of which he has many, backed him. But it's a shame that he finds himself in a similar position to what Tim Heineman and Jack Keithley found themselves in last year. In fact, if I recall correctly, Tim Heineman did end up picking. Wow, I'm going to just use my words properly. He picked up a race ban, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did.
And so to see Maulana in that position, I don't know, he just seems like a very different character to Heineman, but it still shows that once you get in the car, it's game time, and sometimes you can go a little bit over the edge.
Let's have a look at the track here. Jack Keithley is just about to start one lap, and you'll see it's going to be a really short lap. Had kill bend here, braking very late, and trying to get the car in over the curb and using all the way of the runoff area here. Hard on the brakes, a bit of oversteer here. He really jolts the car into the corner out of turn 2, taking a lot of speed. Now this corner is very fast. Most drivers would probably drive it in third or even in fourth here. Oh, and Keithley makes a mistake there, goes too wide on the grass, and of course the tires will pick up the grass just like in real life, and your car will not have as much grip as it should have. And now the final corner. This is the Indy layout here, so we're not going left like in the real DTM, but we're going right, and we're already back on the start-finish straight, so it's a really short circuit.
That was 2 kilometers in a flash. And Keithley currently the fastest time of all as well, a 43.209. That is faster than the pre-qualifying winner time set by Julian Kunze, actually. We're not quite sure why he's not here, but he showed that he at least still has the pace. And I guess he'll be looking at this grid in particular, Rob, and thinking, I'm in a good position now, but nothing is certain until the fat lady sings, as the old adage goes. He probably won't want to have missed this round, but at least he knows that a lot of the people who would have threatened that 5 aren't here, or at least are not necessarily on the pace. Because you even look at the likes of Jaroslav Honzik down in 9th. I mean, we're talking about a race winner from last year,
Yeah,
and
he's
just been nowhere. Yeah.
But Honzik is still in a pretty decent position in the standings. He's sitting in 10th position right now, and maybe still has an opportunity if there's a better round for Andre Santos this time. As we move into the qualifying session now, 10 minutes qualifying, and afterwards 20 minutes racing.
If you are, again, new with us when it comes to these qualifying sessions, they work a little bit differently to maybe you expect. So, drivers get unlimited laps within the 10 minutes. They're able to try and set the fastest lap they can, of which they've got a lot of opportunities around this sub 50-second circuit. If they want, they can abandon their lap at the side of the track and they can escape back to the pits. They're able to go straight out. There's going to be no penalty incurred for that particular thing, which I know a number of championships do like to punish the non-realism of it. Once the 10 minutes is up, though, that is it. There is no finishing the lap that you are on. The 10-minute timer is a hard cut-off. And we're going to start our qualifying hot laps with Tim Yarshall, who actually comes into this event, Rob, with huge confidence. Himself and his brother taking part in a 24-hour race, of which they won, albeit it was on a different simulator, and it wrapped up less than 2 hours ago. So confidence is high, but maybe not the best preparation for a race room race.
Yeah, this guy did a 24-hour race, and they had a 2-people team, so he was probably going to be a little bit more tired than usual. Yarshall had a pretty decent start to the season, but then made a couple of mistakes in the most recent rounds. So he's still waiting for his first podium in the e-racing competition.
The good news for Yarshall, that he is still very young, and certainly one of the most promising talents. I think he's been a little bit overshadowed by his fellow debutant Maulana, who is, of course, a lot more experienced as well. But Yarshall comes across the line there and sets a 43.698. Not exactly the hottest of hot laps, of which Keithley instantly deposes him with a 43.5. We've seen a further 0.3 shaved off there, of which Maulana has almost done it. He dips into the 43.2s.
I think it's a 3, 43.396.
Oh, is it 3?
Yeah,
so
so
for me to see. My
still
eyes
a little bit
bad.
more room. Yeah, you have to excuse us. We do not see everything very clearly here as on the commentating screen. But yeah, still a little bit of room for improvement. But Andika Rama Maulana once again looking extremely strong.
And look at that, it's the top 4 in the top 5 of the championship, currently in the top 4. Although Benz Bunky, the Slovakian, shooting up into P3, and there's a lot of switches and changes, and I think it's just going to be one of those sessions, Rob, at Brands Hatch Indy. You have to get into a groove. You have to understand the track better, and it's actually beneficial for you to be out there for more laps and just to keep on going rather than escaping back and going out again. The groove is crucial here, and you're going to find time where maybe you least expect it.
Here we have Dirk Knutz, one of the new drivers, and he's the oldest driver in the competition. He's already in his 50s, so that shows even if you're not one of these young guns like Heinemann, I think he's 20 years old, for example. Even if you're not one of these young guns, you can still qualify for the races. Check out the link in the description. Go to Race Room, download the game for free, and join the competition for free. And maybe you can become the next Dirk Knutz as Andre Santos moves up into 3rd position.
Now, Andre Santos is a very interesting one, isn't he? Because he was one of the first ever podium sitters in the MERC. He podiumed in that one race special that was Season 1. He has picked up one podium this season as well, though, and he's showing good form after missing Season 2 last year. It is fair to be said, though, that sometimes his pace is rapid, and sometimes his pace is a little bit neutered by small incidents which see him fall further down the grid. He's currently on the cusp of that top 5. He needs to make the most of today to ensure that he guarantees that top 5.
Yeah, he really has to. But it's a great opportunity for him with a lot of drivers missing. Oh, touches the gravel there a little bit. Let's go to Benz Bunky because he's on a hot lap. Crossing the line, 3rd position, Benz Bunky. That's what he needs, ahead of Santos.
A very nice lap indeed from Benz. Looking further down the top 10, we have Rebanak, our championship leader, down in P5. We also have Emery Sheehan, who is continuing to show an improvement of in P6. Tim Yarshall up there in P7, along with Jaroslav Honzik. And then we have 2 of our new boys down in P9 and P10. Mark Balashin, a very experienced, very well-known Hungarian sim racer, joins the grid for the first time. And our first ever Malaysian in the e-racing competition, Ayman Haziq, rounds out the top 10. And look at Mark Princing there as well, just on the cusp of the points finishes. That's going to be pretty encouraging for him. Just a 10th more, and he will be in the top 10.
Keith Lee, P1.
No surprise there. The man with the most pole positions in the MERC's history, only by 7,000 so. And I tell you what, we're starting to see a really good rivalry. One would say maybe a cleaner rivalry starting up between Keithley and Maulana, because these two have been in qualifying battles all year long. Yeah. And indeed, that makes them close in the race as well.
Yeah, I think Keithley, Kunze as well, and Maulana, they've been very, very tight. There's been 2 crashes already between Keithley and Maulana. One at the Lausitz ring, and the other one, I think, was at the start of the Hungaroring ring on the first lap.
It might very well have been, yeah.
Oh, but look at Andre Santos. That's a good sector time, especially in the 2nd sector. And he goes pole.
Well, by half a tenth as well. That's as good as a 10th or 2 at other circuits. Andre Santos, well, he's never taken a race win in the MERC. He's never taken a pole position in the MERC. He is on the cusp with just shy of 4 minutes to go of taking his first and becoming the 5th different pole sitter this season. Considering that at the end of Season 2 there were only 2 pole sitters in the MERC's history, that's a pretty big statement from the field in general of just how much closer it is in Season 3.
Yeah, we also had different race winners in each race, with the exception of the museum event where Heinemann won, who also won Hungaroring. But online we had 5 different race winners, and maybe Andre Santos can become the 6th, because he does not have a race win yet. Ooh, one of the cars off, I think that was Knutz, as Maulana jumps up to provisional pole. He was behind Santos in the 1st and 2nd sector, as he just loses the car there. But he gets it all back in the final sector, so now pole for Maulana.
That's another half a tenth swing towards the Indonesian, who he's been close to pole position before. He's been on the front row twice this season, but he's just not had enough to beat out some of his more experienced competitors. Looking at Emre Sheehan now, the Turkish driver. Heading up through Surtees McLaren and then into clearways before the final turn, the Clark curve. Not a great lap, and he has a little wiggly moment on exit. So easy to do on that corner. It's a little bit off camber. It catches out a lot of drivers. And no improvement there from Sheehan. As I look further down the order, and there has been a bit of switching from 8th down to 12th. Have a little look at Ellison Flauzino, our debutante Brazilian, into the top 8, Prinzing into 9th. So that's demoted Honzik, Balashin and Hazik down to 10th, 11th and 12th respectively.
Oh, change for the lead. Change for the lead. Jack Keithley, once again, late in qualifying, was back onto pole position here.
The top 3 all covered by a 10th of a second, but you then have to go a further 10th back to Bence Bunky. We've almost got a 2-tier system here, Rob. It seems like we've got our 3-horse race for pole position, and then it's really best of the rest. Currently, Bence Bunky occupying that P4.
Oh, and Maulana once again purple in both sectors, but Keithley was also strong in the final sector, and this looked like a little wiggle there. But I'm not sure if Maulana can take the pole, staying all the way on the side, and yes, he does take the pole position back.
By 0.03 of a second, it opens up the gap, so Santos is now outside of that 1/10th gap. Only a minute left as well, so this is actually going to be Maulana's final lap.
Bunky does not improve, but he comes a lot closer to Santos, so Bunky versus Santos could be a great battle in this race.
Everyone pretty much on their final laps now as we near the 43-second marker. Jack Keithley, this is going to be his final one as well, but it's not looking good enough through clearways and into the Clark curve for his final time. Is he going to snatch it at the death? He goes as close to the wall as is possible with his car. And no, he does not take it. So Jack Keithley is not on pole position with Maulana. Staring down the barrel of his first, Andre Santos. He has something to say about it. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2. And no, he loses it in the final sector. And I think that pretty much confirms it, unless there is any amazing final efforts in the final sector. No. Andika Rama Maulana, the Indonesian, becomes the first ever Asian pole sitter in the MERC's history, becomes the 5th ever pole sitter in the MERC's history, and he beats out his strong rival from this season, Jack Keithley, ahead of the second row, Andre Santos and Bence Bunky.
Kevin Sigi-Revanak in 5th position, still good for the championship leader, ahead of Chihan, who's been improving in this stage of the season. Then Yarshel and Balashin, the fastest debutant, just edges out Flauzino, but Prinzing rounds out the top 10.
So you'd be disappointed there again. Honzik, very disappointing to be down in P11. And for Ayman Hazika, a real shame there. He was looking pretty good, actually, to take a top 10 on his debut. The Malaysian wasn't to be, but, well, the old saying goes, Rob, you don't win points on the Saturday, you win them on the Sunday. In this particular case, you don't win them in qualifying. You most certainly do in the race, of which we have 20 minutes of strong, intense action coming up.
And so here's the race. Corentin Pointot, the 18th driver, just joined the server with like 1 second to go. So we have a full grid here. Let's just have a look at the entry list real quick. They are not in order of the qualifying session, but these are the drivers that are competing. So you can pick out the race number and the color of the car of the driver that you are rooting for. As we can see, these cars here lining up on the grid one by one.
No formation lap here. It is straight into the race. 20 minutes around the shortest circuit on the calendar. Nauseating for some, it's all about who has the strongest focus. It's a short run, paddock hill bend ahead, and it's one of the most difficult turn ones of the year. And we are off and away here at Brands Hatch. It is a great start there from Maulana, who is clear of Keithley as we barrel down into Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, a bit of a wiggly moment from one of the black cars there in the background. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but we're straight into Druids now. Everyone just trying to find their groove early on. Down Graham Hill and into Graham Hill Bend, now into the Cooper Straight. All of these areas of the track, they have names. It's into Surtees, it's into McLaren, through Clearways and into the Clark Curve, and before you know it, we've already ended lap 1 here. Not even a minute gone, but it's Maulana who leads from Keithley, Santos, Bunky, Sheehan, who's made a great start, Rebenak, Yarshall, Balashin, Honzik and Prinzing.
Well, Balashin, he was side by side there, Honzik on the inside in the silver car, but Balashin keeps the 8th position, so fantastic start of the race for him.
So for now, everyone just trying to keep line astern. They don't want to be lunging too early. Plenty more opportunities for that in the future as Flauzino and Buron there exchange positions. The Brazilian moving up into P11, although that is Buron making matters even worse, and a massive spin in the background there for our Andorian friend Marshall Igea.
I think it was Pointeau who was having a lot of problems there. Igea must have dropped back already at the start of the race, and for Pointeau, not the start he was hoping for in his first appearance in the e-racing competition.
It's difficult jumping straight into a race with not even qualifying back you up, and Pointeau finding that out the hard way. So already a couple of issues for Buron, Pointeau and Igea, but back up to the front. No issues as of yet for Andika Rauma Maulana. I'm reminded that he's got the experience at least of winning a race before. In fact, he was our second race winner of the season way back now at the Lausitz Ring. So he's got that winning mentality, Rob. And in fact, he beat off the guy who's behind him now, Jack Keithley, to do it. So in one sense, kind of scary, because Jack Keithley is one of the most successful drivers in this competition. However, he's been there and he's done it before, so there's no reason to say he can't do it again.
We can see different lines in the final corner between Keithley and Maulana. Keithley seems to use a lot of track and just picks the apex a little bit different in this corner, as there's a change for the position further back. Jihan drops back 1 position, Rebenak goes ahead of him.
And again for Rebenak.
Oh, Honzik!
Oh, and Honzik makes a big spin there. And I'm not sure whether he was in contact with anyone, but it just goes from bad to worse, as Prinzing as well's been off. And look at that, he's restarted.
Oh, he rejoins into Honzik.
Rejoin. Goodness me, that's not how you rejoin a circuit. And Honzik's round again, his season going from bad to worse. It promotes Flauzino and Hazik up into the top 10. But oh my goodness me, the Czech driver having not even a checker campaign. It's just flat out poor by his own standards this season.
And there was nothing he could do though when Prinzing rejoined the track. I think this was not the smartest move from Prinzing there, rejoining into upcoming traffic. It's one of these moments where you're kind of lucky that it's not a real car that you're sitting in. Welcome
to League Play, Mark. I know you have a podium to your name, but that was the museum special. And he drops another position for good measure to Igea there, the Andorian.
Maybe he let Honzik back through.
Yeah, no, that's very possible. In which case, very good show of good sportsmanship.
Keithley, you can see the rear of Keithley's car always getting loose in this in the second corner there under braking. Oh, there's another change for position. That's Taruna, and I think Taruna is out of the race there. Had a spin in Pelican Bend.
No, there he is. He's behind him. It was a game of hide and seek, and Arwin won on that particular occasion, down to 16th though, just comes in ahead of Prinzing and Pointeau. Yeah, speaking of sportsmen, up to the front, it is still very close, and I'm going to say super impressed with Andre Santos. We talk about this battle between Keithley and Maulana, but he's there as well.
Yeah, he can really stay with them, and also then Spunky though. Not dropping further behind. It's actually Rebenak who's losing a little bit of time at this stage of the race.
Well, I had a little chat to him beforehand, and I think it's fair to say he's not the biggest fan of these cars in particular, which is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best things about Season 3 of the AMG eRacing competition. We have all of these different cars that we're using. We're taking a journey through time, so to speak, and different cars require different driving attributes and skills. It's not that Kevin is particularly bad in these cars, but he's just not on the same pace that he was back at the Norris ring when he was in the 2003 C-Class. Oh, is Haziq there? Yep, Haziq going through on Druids with Flauzino. And the Malaysian moves his way up into P9. That was a really nice late move. It requires a lot of forward thinking. You've got to get into the slipstream on the home straight. You've got to follow them as best as you can through Paddock Hill Bend while not compromising your line. And then you just got to throw it up the inside. He did it with aplomb, and he's gained an extra point so far out of it.
We should have a look back at the front of the field, because Santos has closed the gap to Keithley now. And we've seen last time that the tire wear on these cars is massive. So it remains to be seen. Maulana last time was struggling a little bit, but not too badly, to be honest. Keithley usually is one of the best drivers in terms of tire wear, and from Santos we can't really tell yet. So it could be really interesting as the race progresses, because we're not even at the halfway mark.
We've been going round and round on a merry-go way, and we're still not halfway through. But if I'm Maulana, I'm thinking I've got a pretty good situation here, because while Keithley and Santos are in the slipstream there, and Banky to a certain extent, they're going to be working their tyres a lot harder, in theory, than Maulana. And like we say, Maulana is generally pretty good on his tyres anyway. So if I was Keithley, I'd want to get this move done sooner rather than later, although looking at Santos, he's eager as well. Keithley cannot launch a move that compromises his own position to Andre behind.
Yeah, you could just see this little look from Santos on the inside. He wasn't really trying to make an overtake. He was just taking a little glance on the inside there, and it already slowed down Keithley a little bit. So Keithley now is not in a position to attack Maulana.
We're already coming up to the lapped traffic of Quarantine Pointeau. And honestly, Rob, I think we didn't even see this at the Norris ring, did we? We didn't touch in the way of lapped traffic, but
I think we saw it last year when Thomas Jäger was driving one of the races, and that didn't go too well.
Not this year, though. And it's, I guess, out of all the tracks, this would be the one to expect it at, but at the same time, this is not a great track for blue flags and lapping, so even more skilled and more intuition having to be utilized by the drivers on the lead lap here.
Yeah, Pointeau, he's a guy who's experienced on race room, so I don't really expect any troubles. But I'm not sure what Maulana's thinking now. Keithley and Santos, of course, they're hoping for trouble. And there you go. He lets them through perfectly.
Great back marking. That's exactly what you need to do. A lot can learn from you, Quarantine. Good stuff. And he's allowed all four of the main competitors through. You can see Vicky there just slowly creeping up onto the back of this top triplet. And Maulana, because of that lap traffic, to a certain extent, able to just gently extend his gap, though, through clear ways we go. And Jack Keithley has already made it back up.
I'm impressed by Bunky, that he can stay with this group. This is the best run we've seen all season from Lance Bunky. He, of course, is the teammate of Jack Keithley. They're both driving in the ACR Zaxby team, supported by the real Zaxby team.
I'm going to check to see what his best result is, because he's definitely not had a podium.
I think he was 5th last time.
I think he was around 4th or 5th. That's what my gut is telling me. I just want to make sure so I'm not misinforming people. But to be fair, he's in with a shout as much as any of these top guys. And how often, Rob, have we seen in this competition a top triplet have issues? As who's that falling down the order? It's a Gaia again. And you got to feel sorry for Marshall. He's done his country proud by getting into the competition, but it is a big step up once you do reach here. It's a very different situation. The pressure's on all of a sudden, and he'll take this home hopefully as a very good experience that he can head into the future with.
Yeah, it's also because of the qualifying mode, of course. We are running a leaderboard qualifier where anyone can join. You can join as well. Oh, Keithley! Sorry, just Keithley looking there for the move. But yeah, they drive on the leaderboard against the clock, and now they're thrown into a race, and of course that's a whole different challenge. But we have to watch the battle for the lead now, because Maulana is under huge pressure.
Ben Spunky's best result this season was 6th, by the way, which he picked up in, well, last time out, of course, in Zandvoort. But yeah, Maulana, all of a sudden, very much under threat as we've crossed the halfway point of this race. And you can throw a blanket over the top 3. If you were to knit an extra blanket on, then you could include Ben Spunky in that as well. The top 4 here have pulled away by a clear 3 seconds to championship leader Kevin Sigi Rebenak, the Austro-Slovenian. But the question is, Rob, where? Where do you stick your nose up the inside, or indeed outside if you're feeling slightly audacious, to try and take this lead if you're Jack Keithley?
I think he has to get a better run here and then try it into turn 2.
On this particular occasion, he brakes, but not late enough. In fact, Andre Santos takes a wider line going through. Jack Keithley almost pushing Maulana along, but that works just fine for Maulana. He can take the corner as lower as he wants. He's just going to be backing up the pack.
There's also another move that's possible here when you dive on the inside where they just went past. So after the first right king, it's the Matt Neal move. Someone watches BTCC. But it usually only works with a bit of contact.
And generally as well, we should consider the Matt Neal maneuver generally involves front-wheel drive cars.
And that's through all Keithley sideways once again. Now the tires start to go off, and now Keithley has to defend against Santos.
And Santos, he has a little look up the outside, but if he takes the corner well enough, it's allowed Maulana another little bit of breathing space. That's the first mistake we've really seen from Jack Keithley on the offensive/defensive side of his game. It'll give Andre Santos hope, but he can't slip up either, because Ben Spunky, as he has been doing all race since the beginning, he's been closing and closing and closing to the point where he is well within the slipstream, as is Emre Sheehan on Kevin Sigi Rebenak. He was ahead of him in the early stages of this race, lost out in the first 5 minutes. He's back for vengeance. He wants a top 5.
Yeah, this would also be his best result. He was just in the points in the last race. Oh, Sigi Rebenak a little bit off there. And it almost gave the opportunity to Sheehan, who's pushing Rebenak a bit around the corner there. Let's go on board with Sheehan. Over the curb on the inside. Lost a bit of ground there, and he has to correct on the exit.
Moving through McLaren and clearaways again. Kevin Sigi Rebenak.
Oh, I think we lost Balashin. We lost Balashin.
I think we have. Oh, what a shame for the Hungarian.
He was running well within the points. He was the strongest debutant. And now he's out of the race. That promotes Westerhof into the points, but we will just go back to Sheehan here. 6 minutes left.
This is by far, well, I'm going to bite my words for the moment. I'm going to bite my tongue for the moment, because Sheehan was running in a similarly very good position in Zandvoort and lost it near the end. He only came home 10th when really he had the promise to do so much more. I know he's eager to get past Kevin Sigi Rebenak. For his own sake, would even just finishing 6th or 7th be a good result? Because I mean, you've got to watch out for Tim Yarshall. He's catching on to this as well.
Yeah, Yarshall has been driving a very quiet race so far, but sitting well inside the points here. Let's see, Rebenak, he's been the one who's been a little bit sideways recently here. Once again, he misses the apex a little bit, so maybe they will bunch up again. And Keithley and Santos. Santos past Keithley. Keithley has gone off.
I wish we had a replay system. It looked like he was off at the side of the track, didn't he?
Yeah, he was on the inside. Maybe he put too much power exiting the second corner, but that's a very uncharacteristic mistake from Jack Keithley. That promotes Santos into second place.
We can't judge it until we see a replay. But generally with that corner, it's a slow speed corner as well. So that suggests to me that he either hit the back of Maulana and spun because of that contact. Somehow he put the power down and he didn't have enough tyre grip to keep him in one place. Or there was contact behind from Santos. Either way.
I mean, it can happen there. You just saw how Sheehan got a little bit sideways on power. It can also happen on the power. So maybe there was no contact. But we will see. We will probably see in the way how Keithley finishes this race, if he's driving really aggressively or not. Oh, Chian once again bit on the grass there. He has to watch out now.
Final 5 minutes of this race, it has flown by. And for Steven Westerhoff, he finds himself in a points-paying position. Now, would you believe it? He did actually finish in a point-paying position last year at, where was it? It was round 7 of 9 last year. He actually finished season with -4 points, though. Because he ended up picking up a points penalty because of it. So he has finished in the points before. This would be the first time he's in positive, though.
Yeah, and that's on his first appearance. We've got 3 rookies so far in the top 10. Haziq, Flausino and Westerhoff. But Buron, who's been in every single race, still looking for his first point, currently sitting in 11th.
Buron, Westerhoff, experienced men within the championship. Buron much more this season, of course. This is Westerhoff's first appearance in season 3. But he's had that experience of driving in the midfield last year, and I think a point in this bid would actually be a lot more impressive in my opinion. Oh, there goes Tim Yarshall. He brakes late. He's going to try and go all the way around Druids, but it is a long, long way to go around that corner. Sheehan holds on for now. And I think the game has very much turned from cat to mouse, Rob. He's less worried about Siggy Rebenak. Tim Yarshall's breathing down his neck and is very eager for P6. Poking his nose up the inside of Clearways, and he's got a great run on him as well. Through the Clark curve we go. Look at Sheehan starting to pull away now. He's using the slipstream of Siggy Rebenak to its maximum effect. That is brilliant driving from Emre Sheehan, who, as we go into Paddock Hill Bend, stays ahead, even more so since Tim Yarshall had a little bit of a slidey moment. Oh, contact between the two, going into Druitt, trying to go around the outside again. Great scrap between these two. Rugged, committed, and Sheehan stays ahead for now as Santos goes ahead of Maulana. Santos ahead of Maulana, and that must have been a mistake surely, because Santos has just gone through. 2.5 minutes left. What a crucial time to lose the lead in this race, Rob.
And he was not close to Maulana at all. I was keeping track on the timing stream so we don't miss it. But we missed it again. So that must have been a mistake by Maulana. But the race is not over yet. Still 2 minutes to go. But Maulana, he's going sideways there. Can it really be the 6th winner in the 6th online race?
Big moment here for Andre Santos. He has been a part of this championship since the very beginning. I know he didn't take part last season, but he's back now, and he's back to say, hey, remember me? I'm here to challenge for the championship. Thank you very much. Looking back to Tim Yarshall now. Still hounding the back of Emre Sheehan. He's running out of time. We've only got about 3 laps left.
Let's see if he can go on the inside once again here, but this time Sheehan closes the door and he can keep a narrow line. So we will let them battle, we will find it out, but let's go back to the front so we don't miss anything in the last moments here. Santos leading the race, and it should be 2 more laps.
2-3 more laps. I think it's going to be quite close once we hit the line, if my maths is correct. Anyway, through Graham Hill Bend then onto the Cooper Straight as Tim Yarshall on the outside of Sheehan. Can't look away from this battle for too long, and Tim Yarshall's going to throw it upside Graham Hill Bend. I'm losing my words, but he's made it stick as well. He caught Sheehan napping a little bit, and that was a long time coming. Tim Yarshall up into 6th.
Great move by him, pretty aggressive, but exactly what he had to do. And this should actually be 2 more laps now. So this is second to last lap and then 1 more. So still plenty of time for Bunky and Maulana. Bunky running on the podium. As we can see, I think that's Rea letting the other cars through there. Keithley has really dropped back, so he must have some tire issues. Maybe his tires are not getting back down after the little spin.
That does suggest to me that it might very well have been a Keithley mistake as opposed to contact, because you're absolutely right, you can spin up on exit, and if you don't have great, well, that's case in point. That's what happens when you run behind a car for that long. It's gonna have an effect. As we cross the line then, final lap, and you've got to give it to Andre Santos, Rob. As soon as he took the lead, he bolted. The lead has not been that big all race long, 1.5 seconds.
He's the guy who's sitting on the bubble, who's sitting in 5th place in the standings, and with a victory with 25 points, it's going to be extremely difficult for everyone behind him in the standings. Even though Bunky did a really great race here as well, he's most likely going to finish third. But yeah, it will be hard to catch the Euronics gaming driver.
It has been a long time coming. And he's done as well as he could have done, given the circumstances. Andre Santos takes his first win in the Mercedes AMG eRacing competition. He takes it ahead of Andika Ramanalana, who picks up his 4th podium of the season. And a first podium for Bence Bunky, who his best position this season was 6th previously. So an improvement of 3. Sees him nearer the top step still. Jack Keithley, was it a mistake? Was it contact? Either way, he's not on the podium. He finishes P4 ahead of championship rival Kevin Siggy Rebenak. It's then Tim Marshall, a really good bounce back result, I feel, given his poor form recently, P6. Emre Sheehan with his best ever result in the AMG eRacing competition, P7. And he finishes ahead of a great debut for the Malaysian Haziq, a great debut for the Brazilian Flauzino, and Westerhoff for the first time in his AMG eRacing competition career, unless there was contact along the way, should be in positive points. He picks up his 2nd point score result in his career, his 1st of the season, ahead of Buron, Nats, Honzik Princing, Taruna Egea, and well, Puanto did finish, and then our 1 DNF, Mark Balashin.
What a race by Andre Santos, and this sends a clear message to Dornin, Tocacelli, to Honzik, also to Bunky, of course. That sends a clear message that you are going to have to do a lot of work when you come back here for the next race if you want to challenge for that final spot in the final.
Well, I mean, let's just take... I'm just having a little gander of the championship. There might be a change in the standings, actually. Malana finished with 18 points from 2nd, which will put him on to 74.82. And where did Rebenak finish? He finished 5th, didn't he? So Rebenak would be ahead by 3 points. Oh, no, by a point, sorry. So the championship battle heats up even further, and Kunze perhaps being a little left behind in the grand scheme of things. He's going to have to bounce back a little, though, one would hope, in the next race, because we're heading to the Temple of Speed, the Autodromo di Monza in Italy. And we're also changing up the car, Rob, once again for the penultimate time. This time we're going to the 2005 C-Class.
Yes, and this is going to be a car that has even more downforce than this car here. And on Monza, of course, that's the track where you don't really need the downforce. You need the speed. And we will see a lot of interesting racing, that's for sure. A lot of slipstreaming will be coming up. And if you want to join, you can go on the link to Race Room, and on the Facebook stream it's linked, the link to the Race Room page, and on YouTube you can join the competition directly. And then you can try it out for yourself, because it does not cost anything. Even if you have a controller or a keyboard, you can try to drive these cars, work your way up the divisions, and maybe, if you're fast enough, you will be on the grid in Monza.
We've seen some good keyboard warriors in our time, for certain. Of course, if you're just looking to spectate, then the date to put in your calendars will be the 26th of August. It's in exactly 2 weeks' time. And that's where we'll be when the Mercedes AMG eRacing competition Season 3 returns for the final straight, the final 3 rounds of our season. I'd just like to take these final moments to thank you all very much for watching. We hope that you all enjoyed the great action on display here today. A big thank you to my co-commentator, as always, Rob Wiesemuller. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.